This morning the mission is to process some apples. As you can see, I've got apples everywhere here. All the apples are now picked and in storage, but of course they won't keep forever, and I need to process them into a form which they will keep. So first thing today is we're going to put a batch in the dryer. Now, I've been dehydrating apples already. I've done about 3 batches over the last few weeks. So this is, I think, the 4th batch. Today I want to do 3 different apple varieties. I'll do some Jonagold, some Golden Delicious, and also some Mutsu, and we'll have a look at them when they're dry and do a little bit of comparison of the varieties and their flavours. I'm also going to do some bottling of apples as well, because that's another way we preserve them, and it's really nice to have them in that format, because dry apples are great, but also some moist formats are more usable in other ways in the kitchen. So first thing is to select some apples and then to start the processing, and then to actually get the skins off and get them sliced up. So for this we use an apple corer, and it will slice and core and peel all at the same time if the apple is a cooperative apple. Not all apples come to the shape that you want, or they may have some problems that can make it a little bit difficult. Mutsu particularly are a problem because they are very large, and essentially with Mutsu you generally have to end up actually peeling them with a hand peeler and coring them by hand, cutting them up by hand, just because they're so big. They don't work in these corers that they have designed. So I start adding these trays in once we've got one done, just as they get done so they can start drying. But these spirals, of course, as you carry them, often want to close up. If you can keep them open, it's going to dry much better. So we've got around about 20 apples on this tray, but inevitably some of these break and don't want to stay open, so it's just the way it is. So I'll keep adding the trays as they go, but first we need to light the fire. I set the fire ready to go last night, so it's ready to quickly light. And it won't take long to start producing some heat. And as I go backs and forwards with trays, I'll just check on it. Here's a note from future self. In the next batch of dry apple, I discovered a better way to cut the Mutsu. By keeping them in halves and then taking the core out, I was then able to slice them in a way that they would stand upright, so use less space on the tray and still dry quite well. So this is a more efficient way to get more in the dryer. With Elizabeth and I working together, it's taken us about an hour to prepare those apples and get them in. How easy it is and how many you can get in, it just depends, as I said, on the variety. The Golden Delicious, we're getting around about 20 apples per tray. If you can get a good nice spring, they open up and they will dry quite well. But if the springs break, then it becomes a lot more difficult. With both the Jonagold and even more so with the Mutsu, it's really hard to get those springs. With the Mutsu, because of the large size and occasionally odd shape, it's basically impossible to run them through the peeler. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, they'd dry a lot faster if they weren't overlapped and they were all laying flat. That's absolutely true, but I'm not certain whether it works overall in terms of the time that actually has to be put in to prepare them when it's going to do, say, 2 or 3 lots through in the same time, whether that would work. Mostly we have been doing Golden Delicious and using the spring system, and that has actually worked really well and allowed us to get up to 120 apples in here in one go, and they dry within 2 days. So this is a bit of an experiment doing the mixed. We'll see how it goes. I'm really interested because Mutsu is an apple that has a distinctive flavour, and I'm interested to see what it's like dried, because this is the first time I've actually dried Mutsu apples. So I'll come back to this and check it, stoke the fire every 2 or 3 hours. At least once to twice a day, I will exchange the top and bottom 2 sets of trays. I find the 2 in the middle don't really need to be moved, but top and bottom, to alternate those around, keeps it drying fairly evenly. So now I'm going to go back and get some apples ready for bottling. Now, I have shown you this process before. The process we use is to, again, if possible, use the peelers to peel and core at the same time. And I put them in a pot and give them a slight pre-cook till there is enough juice created to actually go with the apple. Doing this little pre-cook, they're not all cooked or fully cooked in any way, reduces the amount of air and frothing I find that I get in the bottles when I process them. And also it means that I don't have to add the quantity of water to the bottles. So it's largely apple and apple juice that's actually in the bottles. Over the couple of days which this is going on, I will probably do several batches of bottles, but we'll see at the end how far we get, because a lot of things come along and interfere in life. I was going to do all this a week ago, and then we all got a virus, and that's the finish of the week. So now we're back to it. In terms of stoking the fire, I have some nice wood from a stump to burn, and nice chunky pieces. They'll keep it burning quite well over long periods, so I don't have to come and stoke it too often. So I have a mix of bottle types coming in here. There's some of the taller ones and some of the shorter. Both of this size will run at the same time. They will both work at a 45-minute timing, so they're okay to mix. It's only the really large ones that require the hour, and you don't want to mix those in. Now, you might notice that I've got a new stainless steel processor. If you've seen previous videos, picked this up on eBay at a good price, and it works really nicely. The advantage of the stainless steel processor is that I can leave the water in overnight if I'm doing processing over a couple of days like I am at the moment. So I'll be able to leave water in tonight and don't have to empty it out and put a new lot in. And just keep reusing the same water. And I won't have rust issues. So that's connected to the app and giving me the temperatures as they rise, and I can go and get another lot ready and not have to check it all the time. Okay, so it's getting late in the day. The dehydrator has been on for about 7 hours now, and what I'm going to do at this stage is to rotate the trays top to bottom, bottom to top, leaving the middle ones alone. Stoke it again and just see how it's going. So let's open it up, have a look. It's pretty warm in here. Looking already, these bottom ones I can see are drying quite well. Some of it bits are feeling dry. This actually feels like dry apple already. Tastes good. So it needs to go to the top, but not all of it is dry. Some of it's still moist. This one will come out. Goes down. These middle ones are fairly even. They can stay where they are. And I usually find they work fine there. Occasionally near the end, I might bring one down for a bit more drying. I will stoke it again before bed, so it'll probably run for another 5 to 6 hours before it goes out. I'm not going to get up in the middle of the night and stoke the fire, but I will stoke it before I go to bed, so it will still continue to run for probably another 3 hours after that. So I expect it'll still be going with some warmth midnight or even later. Well, I'm back this morning to see what these apples are like. Now, I didn't light the fire early this morning because late last night when I did the last check on these, the apples were fairly advanced in terms of their drying, or quite a lot of them. So this morning I'm expecting there to be a large percentage that are actually dry and ready to take out. So I thought it better to wait until I go through and sort it, take some of these apples out and see how many's left, and put those ones back in that need to be dried. Otherwise I'd be unnecessarily drying ones that are, making them too dry. So let's have a look what we've got. So looking at it straight away, I can see that they are pretty dry. So I'm going to need to go through tray by tray and take out all the dry ones and only put back the ones that need further drying today. So I'm really happy they've done quite well yesterday and quite quickly. I think having the nice big pieces of wood there last night kept the fire burning till really late and kept good heat into it. Okay, so I'll start with this tray, which is the mutsus that were on the bottom. And while you go, it's food you don't really want to touch, it is the way to know 100% where the dryness is. Like in here, some of these you can tell are dry and need to come out, but others I can feel the moisture. Visually, it's really hard to know 100%, but your fingers will tell you something, that they will work as a moisture meter more effectively than the eyes. Around the edges, it's dried very well. Yeah, I think most of this is dry. That's a bit moist. Yeah, so that's all that's left on that tray. Now this one's been tray 4 and it's not moved from that position. So from that point of view, it's always had the least heat for the day. And I would say that most of this I would prefer to have, it's reasonably dry, but most of it I think needs a little bit more drying. So it would have helped if I had rotated this a little bit lower during the day yesterday. From what I can feel, apart from the smaller pieces, I'd like to put the rest of it back for a few more hours. So with them back in here, I'll do a little bit of rearrangement and move everything down to the lower trays so it will dry quite quickly and I don't need to run it for too long. Off what's been on two will spread out just fine on one. Johnny Gold down low, and then the Golden Delicious now and the Mutsu. As they dry, it's harder to tell the difference between them, so remember where they are. Now, in terms of the bottled apples, I've got 14 bottles here that are ready for me to take the clips off and then to put them into storage in the cellar that we did yesterday. And today I will repeat the process and see how many we can get done, but probably at least this many, if not more. So we have 3 different varieties of apples here now, dried, and we know which ones are which because we processed them and we know these were a different shape. So it's pretty obvious to tell that these are the Mutsu. The one that the least amount of dried is the Johnny Gold and the most is the Golden Delicious. Have a taste. Which ones do you like best is the question. I think I already have a favourite.
Not a lot of flavour.
Sweetness.
It's sweet.
Has a flavour. I like that flavour myself.
Well, I have to taste the rest and then I'll know
Yep.
for sure. This one's softer. Hasn't dried so much.
These are in the centre of the dehydrator and probably didn't dry out. They were on the bottom some of the time. Different flavour, isn't it?
Yeah, that one's different. I think I like that one better.
Coming up.
These are more chewy.
The Mutsu is very chewy, yeah.
As a fresh apple, I don't like Mutsu, but I do like it dried. If that makes sense.
I like Mutsu as a fresh apple. It's my favourite because of the flavour that it has. But I don't notice that flavour when it's dry. I notice sweetness, very chewy.
Would you cut it a bit thicker?
This has a very different texture. It tends to break, become like apple chips very easily.
Yeah, they do.
And caramelises quite easy. It gets a caramel flavour.
I think I like the Mutsu best. I like it because it's chewy and I like the flavour like that, but I don't like it as a fresh apple. It changes it completely dry.
Out of the dry, I think I like the Golden Delicious the best. But this is probably number 2. The Johnny Gold, what do you think of that?
Oh, I do like it, but I'm still going with that one. I mean, they're all very nice in their own way.
It sort of doesn't have
It's
anything particularly distinctive about it. A moderate apple. So that's our apple drying. We've still got the few in there to finish up today. A few hours they'll be ready, and it's back to more bottling today. That's what you do in autumn, getting the food processed. So that's the video for now, and I'll be back with another video soon. Probably do one with a little bit of a roundup, what's happening in the garden, which is actually not that much, but there's a few things that we've done that you might like to see.